Hello everyone, welcome to Prakash IT. Today we are going to learn Spring MVC flow. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you, in this video, I'm going to explain how the Spring MVC flow works. Okay, first I will make you understand what do you mean by Spring MVC and what is the advantage we are going to get by using the MVC while developing the web application by using this Spring MVC. Okay, and overall flow I will also explain. Okay, so let me first tell you. So what do you mean by Spring MVC? MVC stands for Model View Controller. As from the name, you get to know that we are going to work with the model, view, and controller layer. Okay. So whenever in a typical web application, what we are going to see is like we will see the model. Model is nothing but the user data. Whenever the user requests for the specific resource, then he will send some it may be some with some data that we can consider as a bean or model. Okay, for example, whenever the user sends the request with the login username and password, that we can consider as a data. Okay, that will go as a model. And view, I am explaining from the layman point of view, like so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, so, and just understand, you got to know that what do you mean by model in high level. Okay, then let me tell you what do you mean by view. View means what? View means the presentation layer. Okay, whenever the user will see the page that he has to enter the username and password. Okay, that page is nothing but the view. Okay, whenever the user will send the request in the form of view, and whenever getting the response back, that is also a kind of view. Okay, so now we'll understand what do you mean by controller. Going forward, I will tell you what is a controller, but for the time being, let me tell you what do you mean by controller. Controller in the Spring Web MVC or in a typical web application, controller is nothing but which controls the flow and processes the business logic and gives back the response in terms of what that I'm going to explain in detail in the subsequent slides. Okay, so as I have said, model is nothing but the application data. Model is nothing but the beans which encapsulates the data. uh, I mean to say, whenever the user sends the request, for example, the username and password, that will send in terms of data. Okay, that will create one bean. In some cases, that information which is sent by the user, that is nothing but the data or model, we can say. Okay, view, already I have told you, whenever the user sends that data, that should be rendered for the response. For that purpose we can use the view layer. Okay, that may be a JSP file, or it may be a free marker or something, time leaf. All these view technology are there, many view technology are there that we can use. But in the Spring OMMVC application, we are going to see JSP as the view layer. Okay, then controller processes the user request and returns the logical view back. Whenever the user gives the request, then that controller, after processing, it is going to give the logical view name back. Okay, more in detail we'll see. Okay, now let me explain. If we are using the Spring MVC, then what are the advantages we are going to get. Okay, so as you know that if we use MVC, then model, view, and controller, what we are doing, by seeing all these things, you get to know that we are separating our business logic, presentation logic, and all these stuffs. Okay, all these things separately. Okay, so what we can do, we can do the parallel development, and the code separation we will get, right? The model things, the whatever the data we want to represent, that we can put into the model layer, and whatever the business logic and all, that we can put in the inside the flow, control flow, business logic, all these things in control layer and view for the view layer, right? So that the all the things we can separate. Okay, So that is easy to for the maintenance purpose, as we are separating the uh, business data or and the controller layer and the view layer, or everything we are separating, each layer we are separating. That is why we will get the flexibility of like maintenance will be easy, right? The development also will be easy. Okay. So clear separation of code will get, then easy maintenance due to the clear code separation, easy to debug as the code separates. Since we are writing the code separately, so it is easy to maintain and easy to debug. Okay. So parallel and rapid application development also we can do. Okay, now I will explain how exactly the typical Spring MVC application flows. Okay, from the request point of view to till the getting the response back. I will explain in detail. Please focus. Okay, so what happened in Spring? There is a dispatcher servlet. Okay, so in a web application, you might have heard that, like you might have as part of our servlet, we have already seen then how the request flows. Whenever the user wants to send the request, then that request will be captured by the corresponding servlet, right? I'm just giving the high level idea. I'm not considering all these in detail. If someone has not visited my servlet tutorial, he can visit my servlet tutorial, so that he will get some basic idea how typically the web application works. Okay, so once the request is sent by the user, then the request will go to the servlet, and some configuration we are doing, based on the configuration it will work. Okay, that is the typically like the servlet, how servlet works here. But here in case of Spring MVC, there is a dispatcher servlet. In the case of Spring MVC, all the flows work around the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet is nothing but the front controller. Okay, I will make you the this flow dead easy, so that you will never forget, and it will make your the Spring MVC flow um, will remember. I mean to say, if I will explain in the simple terms, so that it will be clearly understandable by you people. Okay, so this is the dispatcher servlet, which is nothing but our front controller. Okay, in Spring that is called as front controller, dispatcher servlet. Okay, this is nothing but a servlet. Okay, that is provided by the Spring framework. We no need to develop this dispatcher servlet. Only what we have to do while developing our MVC application, this dispatcher servlet we have to configure. Okay, so first what we have to do, whenever the user gives the request will come to the dispatcher servlet. Okay, so and from the dispatcher servlet to some other layers also, the flow will the request will flow, and the response will back to the dispatcher servlet. That means we will work around the dispatcher servlet only. Okay, okay. So let me tell you, like whenever the user send the request, that is request, then this dispatcher servlet, what it will do, this is a servlet, right? The dispatcher servlet, since it is a servlet, the servlet information will be where? That is, as part of the servlet, we already know the servlet information will be there as part of the web.xml. That is the deployment descriptor. Okay. So dispatcher servlet, while working with the, in case of servlet, we are developing this servlet, but in here and configuring the servlet information in the web.xml. But here, since the dispatcher servlet is provided by the Spring people, then we no need to develop this dispatcher servlet. We only configure what dispatcher servlet in the web.xml. Okay, so that information will the web.xml, the handler mapping, all these information will find in the web.xml. Okay, so once the request sent by the client or the user, then that request will be intercepted by the dispatcher servlet. From the dispatcher servlet, from the dispatcher servlet, with the help of handler mapping, where all the configuration are there, and in our typical web application there will be many, what I can say, the controller, many controller, not the one single controller will be there. There can be possibility many controller will be there. Okay, from the handler mapping, the request belongs to which controller. Okay, that that flow will be that I mean to say the request will go to the particular controller based on the handler mapping. The information that is provided as part of the web.xml based on the handler mapping to which controller it should map. The request will to map to the which controller. Okay, if I can say specifically, this is our controller, and on basis of handler mapping, the information the dispatcher server got, then that request will be mapped to the appropriate controller. Okay, this is our third step. Let me tell you, the first step is whenever you send the request to the dispatcher servlet with the help of handler mapping, the dispatcher servlet will send that handler mapping means the URL pattern and all that. Based on that, what it will do, it will send the request to the controller layer. Okay, so typically there may be scenario that from the control we might have I have given one line so that I can separate from this. There are some applications we can build without the help of the service layer, DAO, depository, all these things, and the other application also. Okay, from this controller we can directly return the response back to the dispatcher servlet, or else if there are some other possibilities also. If our application is want to talk with some other application, then he can communicate with the dispatcher like other application too, or else it can also communicate with the other layer also. I mean to say, if there is a service layer, our application from the controller layer, it will talk to the service layer. Okay, service layer, then service layer will talk to the DO layer, and DO layer will talk to the database. This is the flow. And once this service layer controller communicate to the service layer, then service to DO, DO to database, and after the processing, I have not put the arrow mark here back, that I missed actually. So what we can say, the request will again back to the DAO layer. DAO to request means the response. When the processing is done from the database end, the response will be sent to the DAO, DAO to service, then service will send the response back to the controller. This is how the typical web application actually works. Okay, so let me tell you next. Then if this service DAO database is not there, this will be like what I can say, we can eliminate while developing the web application. We'll develop our application till the controller layer. Okay, I hope like this much is clear to you people, right? Okay, if you don't want to consider service DO database for the time being, you can think of this layer is not there. Okay, so once the request comes to the dispatcher servlet with the help of the handler mapping, the request will go to the appropriate controller. From the controller, what it after the processing of the business logic, what it will do, controller will send back the as a response model and view. Model means some data. After the processing, like it may send some model, right, some data, right, to the whenever if since the user has requested for the particular resource, so he might be some data the user will get as part of response, right? So that is why the control would send the model and view. View means in which view, the what is the view it should show the whatever the data, right, to the request to the user, I mean. Okay, but remember one thing, the view means like inside our web application we have the web folder. We'll put all our views there, right? It may be a home.jsp or success.jsp, something we'll see in the subsequent tutorial. But remember one thing, in a typical web application, the views we will put inside the web folder. We have seen as part of the serverlet tutorial, right? So that view, if for the timing, if you consider the home.jsp is the view, like the physical view that is there as part of the web, but from the controller, whatever the data he want, controller will send, and the only the logical view name. The view means the only the logical view name it will send after the processing. Okay, then what it will do? This is the fourth step. Okay, as part of the fifth step, the dispatcher servlet once get the model and view object, then from the model and view, dispatcher servlet with the help of the view resolver. View resolver means the controller layer will send the logical view name only, means the home, or success.jsp, but it will send the success only, or failure in case of failure, error. Okay, some kind of like only the logical view name. Okay, from the logical view name, the dispatcher servlet have to find the what is the corresponding physical view. Okay, if it send the home, then dispatcher servlet have to find that home.jsp, or if it send the success, then success.jsp, the dispatcher servlet has to find with the help of view resolver. Okay, with the help of view resolver, the dispatcher servlet would get the physical view. Okay, then once the dispatcher servlet get the physical view name, then with the help of the view, then what it will do, it will render the data to the particular view. Okay, that is the final step. We can say this is the final step. Once the dispatcher servlet get the physical view, it will render, the dispatcher servlet will render the data to the view. Okay, if it is the home.jsp, the home.jsp, it will pop up the like populate the data in the corresponding view page. Okay, that response will send back to the user, whoever is requested for the particular data. Okay, I hope this is clear. I will summarize whatever the steps I have just explained now. Okay, remember from the step one, whenever the user sends the request, step one, the request will intercepted by the dispatcher servlet. Then the request with the help of the handler mapping, where in the handler mapping we have all the request like the information like whatever the URL, web.xml, the all these details we have. So with the help of handler mapping, to here I have depicted only one control. There might be multiple controller in a typical web application, right? To which controller the request should map. Okay, so that it will find with the help of handler mapping, the request will communicate to the appropriate controller with the help of handler mapping. Okay, from this, if there is any another layer, service layer, DO layer, database, or any other third party applications, it will communicate to from the controller to the service, service to DO, DO to database, again back to the DO, DO to service, then controller. Okay, after processing, if service, DO, database, or any other web application is not there, right, then what it will do, it will simply from the controller, after doing all the processing from the controller, be executing the business logic, what it will do, controller will send back the model and view to the dispatcher servlet. Okay, model is nothing but the data, view is the logical view name, it will send back to the dispatcher. And what it will do, dispatcher servlet will with the help of view resolver, it will find or it will resolve the appropriate physical view. Okay, then from the physical view, whatever the data, something sometime data or only logical view, okay, so some with the whatever the data the dispatcher servlet has got, with the help of the result view, it will try to render all the data in the particular view, and that response will send back to the shown as shown to the user or the client, we can say. Okay, this is the overall Spring flow. I hope this much simple explanation nobody will give. Okay, I hope this will clear all your doubts as part of the Spring MVC flow. Okay, if somebody will ask, can you please explain me what is the Spring MVC flow and how it works from the request to the from the request to get the response back? Can you please explain? So you can explain in the in a basic layman term. Okay, this is how the simple Spring MVC web application flows. Okay, so that's all for this video, and as part of our next video, we'll work with the our first web application, then we'll progress one after another, how to work with the view, how we can resolve all these views. Okay, all these things, and complex form, how to work with the HTML form, and all these things we'll see one after another, right? Okay, so then at the end of this MVC, we'll see one end-to-end mini project. Okay, so that's all for this video. We'll meet in the next video with new topic. Okay, thank you.